That's very good. Stagnation. What else?
Lethargy.
You know, when you're hot, you can have lethargy.
Yeah, take that.
So no.
Being cold.
Cold contraction.
Contraction.
Contraction. What?
Shivering.
Shivering. Okay, that's yeah. Okay. Summer characterized by what?
Heat.
Heat. Yeah, and high consent. You want to drink a lot of fluids.
Yeah.
Sweating.
Yeah. Good. Dampness.
Block.
Yeah, there's lethargy. That's one of the.
Yeah, associated with heaviness.
Yeah.
Usually, if we speak about dampness, we're often people that are heavy, like heavy, they accumulate a lot of dampness, fluid retention, edema, stagnation, viscosity. Okay, dryness,
Cracking.
cracking,
Yeah.
your
Dry skin.
dry skin,
Thirst.
dry tongue, thirst, consumption of fluids, and fire.
Fever.
Redness.
Generally, it's an upward movement of burning, and generally causing a disturbance of blood. Because when you have hot blood, right?
It's like a volcano.
Yeah,
It's a volcano.
yeah. But think about it. When you have fire in your body, that's heat, right? Fever, heat. So that is not just warming. That's boiling your body fluids, everything. Okay.
So mental.
So how many environmental factors do we have?
6.
Six.
What are they? Evel.
Wind, cold, heat, dampness, dryness, and fire.
Okay, good. And we have our 5 emotions. Now we've discussed this. Let's do this quickly because we know it. Joy, emotion, associated element is fire, heart, and what are the possible health effects or the syndrome?
Mental issues.
Laughing.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Sadness.
Right. Not so much sadness. Not for joy. Not for the fire. The fire. If you have heart fire, that can be difficult. Often, excess joy can trigger migraines. Often, okay.
Circulation.
Yeah, but let's just we're going to just very simply fill in this grid that I've given you. Anger has to do with the wood element, has to do with the organ liver, and has to do with anger and outbursts of anger. Okay, and sometimes totally irrational. And even if rational, why do you have to get angry, right? Like that angry, unless it's called for, like somebody really, burns your house down. Yeah. Okay, grief has to do with the element metal, the organ lungs, has to do with, as you mentioned, grief, sadness, worry. Okay, and this can all put a big strain on the lung chi. Okay, on the lung chi. Okay, moving to worrying or overthinking of the spleen, of the earth. So if you do all these things, you overthink and you're constantly up there, you'll create a deficiency in spleen. Okay? And finally, fear. Its emotion is, what is it? Its emotion is fear. Associated organs are kidney. Okay. And if you have a deficiency in kidney, that can cause to anxiety attacks, panic attacks, okay? And various fears, okay? Okay, so we have the 6 environmental factors, the 5 emotions, the 9 miscellaneous factors, okay? Now, I'm going to do something next week. I'm going to, and I know, again, this is so simple stuff, like, wind, earth, fire. It's very simple. But when you put the whole thing together, it's not that easy. So that's why I'm just going to ask you next week to know, how many emotional factors are, how many yin-yang relationships are there, okay? How many miscellaneous factors are there, okay? Okay, 9 miscellaneous factors. We have constitution, stress and fatigue, diet, excessive sexual activities. The Chinese don't think that we should have sex so much or masturbate so much when we're 18, 19. Or, right? There can be damage from parasites, damage from phlegm, damage from stagnant blood, traumas, injuries, your lifestyle. Okay, these are all things that we have to look into when we're doing our holistic TCM diagnosis. Okay, so again, it's pretty neat, I think, isn't it? It's not just looking at one thing. Oh, you've got shoulder pain. Okay, but we're looking at that beyond. Well, what channel is that? When did that happen? I wonder why. It's very holistic. Okay, so let's look at constitution. And what do we? Tell me a little bit about constitution.
It's what you were born with. It's who you are.
Okay, so that's a question we ask when we're looking. Okay, you're sick with this. Did your mother have it? Did your father have it? So we're looking at their constitution. Like, why do they have it? If sometimes you can't. Let's say for infertility, you did everything, and then you ask them, but how about your parents? No, they could only have one child, or I was adopted, they couldn't have any. So then you look at, what was in their constitution, what happened. And also, we should have environment in here. I didn't put it in, but environment is very big. In fact, you know what? The thing is, this is, what I'm giving you and teaching you today is all what they're teaching in China, in Beijing, or the schools, Oriental schools in the world. However, I am going to add, just for our purposes, environment. Okay, so for our purposes, it'll be the 10 miscellaneous factors. Okay, diet is big, because improper diet and as well as unsanitary food can lead to infections, food poisoning. Okay. Excessive sexual activities over the time depletes the which organs? Kidney essence, decreasing one's overall power, one's overall strength, and making the individual more vulnerable to disease.
But nobody should have sex before 21.
Oh, I don't think that, but not as much. I mean, some people can't stop, so it's too much. So everything is preservation of the energy. Don't just give it out. Less is more, okay? And that's why they develop Tantra, where it's, instead of letting everything out, it's injaculation and not ejaculation, right? That's what one of the premises of Tantra. It's just, there's your partner, you're with that partner, you're connecting on the love, and without even touching very much, without the crystals touching, both of you are having, and it's that Kundalini rising, okay? It's like the ejaculation. Okay. Okay, from parasites, damage, okay? This can cause a lot of problems to the qi and blood, causing pain and poor appetite. And phlegm. Damage from phlegm. If you have too much phlegm, it'll cause what? Blockage, okay? Accumulation and coagulation of blood fluids will cause too much phlegm. This can lead to dampness, okay? Dampness, and can affect the internal organs, the tissues, okay? Which will cause a disease. Now remember what I said to you last time about blood stagnation. What is blood stagnation? if you have a recurring pain, a recurring fixed pain in the same area, that's blood stagnation. But if you have pain and it moves all over the place, that's qi stagnation. But the fixed, recurring, at the same thing every day, blood is not moving. Okay, so blood, stagnated blood will obstruct the blood flow through the vessels. Okay, and when that's not flowing, it remains stagnant. Okay, that can cause a fixed, sharp pain. Okay, so too much physical activity for lifestyle now. If we have too much physical activity, we can create a lung deficiency because we're overworking it. And too much intellectual ability will explain. Good for you, well done. Okay, and we're to our final category in the miscellaneous factors, which is traumas and injuries. So if this needs to be treated immediately, if it's not treated immediately, these injuries can cause severe bleeding, infections, unconsciousness, or even death. Okay? Now, let's talk a little bit, I added another one, environment. How can this affect you?
Oh, where you live, if you
Yeah,
live
if you
close
live
to
in a
hydro
rural area.
wires.
You get the EMFs, the electromagnetic
yeah.
radiation, EMRs,
Like war
war.
areas, where you live. War.
Okay,
If there's pollution and stuff.
right,
Mhm.
right, okay.
Lack of oxygen.
Yeah, so I think we need to add that in there, the 10.
Mhm.
For our purposes, we're going to add them in, but that's come from me. Okay, the Tsang Fu abbreviations and directions. Okay. Liver, abbreviation is LIB. Leg, Qi flow. CF means central fugal. Okay, so CP would mean
Central.
what would CP mean? If CF means centrifugal. Okay,
Few.
right. Okay, good. Okay, so these, I'm not going to go over. They're in your book, and I just want you, because every book is different, and here it'll say liver, then heart. Just follow these down, the rows, and then you'll be able to look at them. Liver is connected to the gallbladder. Again, this is on your list of associations. Okay. Now let's go to the theories of Qi, Xue, Jin, and Yin. Okay? So Qi means what? Energy. It's the force of energy of all things. Of all things. Okay. Generally speaking, the Chinese believe that any type of destruction or damage to qi will cause illness. Okay, so that's that. And our aim is to adjust and bring into balance and harmonize the qi. When we speak about liver qi stagnation, we want to smooth the liver qi. Okay. Okay, so just Xue is like blood. And according to TCM, blood can be produced by transformation of food. Okay, as you know, we already spoke about Wu Qi. But as well as the marrow, M-A-R-R-O-W, marrow action. Now, what is the function of blood? It does what?
Transport nutrients.
Yeah, so it, okay, nourishes, moistens, what?
Tissues.
Okay, yeah, the skin, the muscles. As you get older, you go into some of these retirement homes and you'll see these people are all shriveled up, they're thin. And their yin, which is part of blood, right? Yin is fluid. It shrinks deficiency, indeficiency, blood deficiency, they're pale, right? Okay, so blood nourishes and moistens the skin, the muscles, tendons, and bones, and acts as a material foundation for activities of muscles. Which?
Because it's circulate, right? So it's just regulates the heat, isn't it? In foods.
Not really.
Not really?
Not really. What regulates our temperature? I already told you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to your notes. Go back to your notes.
Sanjiao, yeah.
Senjiao channel regulates water metabolism, but we spoke about, just a couple of pages ago, we spoke about the regulation of body temperature. Defensive qi helps with the wei qi. Remember when we were talking about the different types of qi?
Defense.
Okay. You see how this is easy, but once you start talking, your client will believe anything you say. You know, so you have to be careful that you say things that are of truth in nature.
So the defense that she regulates.
Helps regulate you. So the function of qi is to what? Real quick, someone's asking you. What's the function of qi?
Circulate.
Transport, transform, hold, raise, protect, and warm. Okay, and if you have, because you're going to tell your patient, and if you have, you eat poorly or your lifestyle or something, we're very concerned. The Chinese, this type of medical paradigm is very concerned with making your qi as good as it can be, with balancing it, okay? A lot of people who are in the Western world, they'll say, oh, it's like building your immune system and not weakening. But we're not going to bring that into play. Here we're going to, because there's so many types of qi. So what we want to do is regulate, balance, harmonize. Okay, those are the words that they use. Okay, Xue blood, it warms and moistens and nourishes the skin, muscles, tendons, bones, okay? And it's produced from Guqi, the transformation of food, and by marrow. Now, Jin is the clear and thin fluid, and it's just distributed on the muscular surface, the Jin. And the Jin is to warm and nourish the muscles and to moisten the skin as well. Remember, this is the clear and thin fluid, as opposed to Ye, which is the heavy and thick. Did we talk about this last week? I thought we did. Yeah. Now, Ye is stored in the joints and orifices, so just note that. Ye is in the joints, and so the functions, again, of Ye is to moisten the joints, strengthen the brain and the marrow, and nourishing the orifices. So often people that have rheumatoid, RA, and I'm now talking about the Western, or arthritis, just arthritis, it's a lot of this Ye, isn't it, that's in the joints, that swells, right, inflamed, right? Okay. Moving on. We're going to speak about the 8 principles. Again, very simple, but add the whole picture together. Okay, and it gets a little not so simple, not so easy. So here the 8 principles are exterior, interior, cold, heat, deficiency, excess, and yin and yang. So for exterior, this affects what? Our skin. You know, when you get a wind cold, it affects the skin. What's also on the exterior? Your hair, muscles, superficial portions of the meridians. Okay, not those that are going inside. Now, interior affects the Zang Fu. So the Chinese are very much into the internal organs. So those are the internal, okay? Generally speaking, if it's exterior, it's only if it only the pathogen, the evil chi, or the evil pathogen just got into the exterior, it's okay. But the further in it gets, if it goes into interior, that's when you can be really sick and or die or whatever, because it's further inside. That's why you want to catch a flu, or you want to catch all of these things at the beginning. You don't want to wait for 15 years and then treat it. By the way, I have somebody in palliative care right now. She was a nurse's aide, worked at a facility with all nurses and doctors for 30 years. And she had diabetes and all that. A beautiful family. I think she worked there 35 years. I went to visit her twice in the last couple of weeks. People were saying that there's some smell coming from them. Some smell. Anyway, the people, her superiors told her to go get it checked out. So she's, okay, well, she couldn't go. Well, go check it out. And, you know, things like that. Nothing was really followed up. Did this nurse do it? She was a little overweight. She was like 65. Sorry, she's still alive. 65. So her son noticed something and said, you know, Mom, you've got to go. I'll take you tomorrow. Okay. She went to have to her MD, and from there they rushed her into the hospital. She's never came back home. Her son had to write the consent. What is it? What form? The consent form. She had to have her foot amputated. It had gangrene. That's how bad it got. Then it got worse. She almost died of toxic poisoning, and they had to do the rest of her leg, and it's all in her body. Now, this woman was a nurse, like a nurse's aide. You know, she did 3 years training or something, like years ago, and she worked in a medical environment, and she knew but she didn't.
Awful smell. I smelled it before. That sort of stinks.
Well, when it's to that level, the gangrene, when it's to that level, I mean, you need, now, acupuncture herbs can really help reverse things before you get amputated, okay? But, I mean, this was too far gone. So, again, with this exterior, interior, you want to catch everything, even with children, you want to, or kids, and yourselves, catch it when it's still in the exterior. You don't want it to get into the organs, because then it's harder to deal with, and it stays longer, becomes chronic. Okay? Okay, cold and heat. Cold can be divided into exterior and interior cold. Okay, so make sure you know that. Again, simple but not easy. Exterior cold is things like severe chills, okay, mild fever, no sweating, no thirst, aversion to wind cold, headache, soreness, pain in the limbs, general aching, itchy throat, hoarse voice, SOB, shortness of breath. And what you want to do here is you want to dispel the wind and the cold. Usually with cold, we call it wind cold. Okay. Now, if it's gone into the interior, you have cold limbs, totally pale complexion, really pale complexion, thin white sputum, clear urine, loose stools,